Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video we will dive into the Major Arcana and we will have a long chat about the occult meaning of each card, how to read these cards. Also we will talk about the symbolism and the numerology and also how to use the cards for our benefit. Let's start with a little bit of history about tarot. Nobody really knows the real story from where the tarot cards came from. Some say it's Italy, others say it's France, others say that these cards came from the gypsies, others say that these cards came from ancient Egypt, and actually the Book of Thoth is said that it contains the information that describes each card from the Major Arcana. The tarot is composed of two parts, so to speak, the Major Arcana and the Minor Arcana. The Major Arcana is said to describe the path to enlightenment because the Major Arcana starts with the Fool, the card 0, which is actually the initiate starting his spiritual journey, culminating with the World card, which is the card of completion or the finish line. The Minor Arcana is said to be added later on in the 15th century or something like that. And this Minor Arcana was said to be used for fortune telling or to represent the physical plane. Let's dive now into the Major Arcana, which represents the journey to enlightenment. These cards have, so to speak, occult properties which were known to a few people. But now, thanks to the internet and the fact that we are drowning in information, we can find these secrets everywhere. The cards also can be used as an object of meditation. But before we dive into it, I would like to offer a disclaimer that you will not find all the information in this video about these cards. This is just a sum up of what each card represents. It's almost impossible to do such a task because the video will be way too long. The Fool, symbolism and numerology. The Fool is the main actor, so to speak, of the story that we have going on. The Major Arcana is the path that the Fool must walk on in order to reach enlightenment or to find out about the secrets of the universe, and also to find out about his true powers. The Fool has associated with it the number 0, which is the root, the origin, also is the symbol of the egg or the starting point. The point from where all things start, right? In the card we see this character who is walking on a cliff, looking up, which means that the character is naive, just as an initiate at the beginning of the path. We also see in the background mountains, ice, which stand for challenges along the road, obstacles that this Fool has to overcome. We see a lot of yellow. Yellow is the color of the air element, and this is a clear indication that it reveals to us something has to do with the air element, with inhalation, with our breath. Also, the Fool has a bag on a stick, again, that we can imagine that is moved by the wind. The symbolism, again and again, indicates that we have to pay attention to how we breathe. The Fool holds in his hand a white rose, which is the symbol of purity and innocence. The rose is also a symbol of desire, and red roses mean passion, and here, because it's white, it means that the desire has been purified. The dog is the intellect that must be man's best friend. The robe that the Fool is dressed in indicates the idea of vegetation because of its green color. The stick in his hand symbolizes the wand, and with the wand we move the forces of magic. The feather again makes us think of flying in the air, but also indicates the animal kingdom. Behind this beautiful character there is a white, brilliant sun, and the sun is the giver of life. Without its light, plants cannot grow or bear fruit. Also, when we are inhaling, when we are breathing, we are inhaling these particles of light energy. So that's a sum up of the symbolism of this card. But remember one main theme here: air, the breath. The Fool, the occult meaning. The Fool stands for superconsciousness, is the one force that unites us all. Also, by focusing on our breath, we calm down. In this manner, by focusing on our breath, we calm down our minds. The thoughts cease to appear if we maintain our focus on our breath, and when our body is relaxed and our mind is empty, that's actually the doorway to the superconscious, from which we can connect with it and we can give it indications of what we want in our lives. Also, we can download the information via intuitive impulses. So, this card speaks clearly and loudly that we have to learn how to breathe in more deeply. Because when you breathe in more deeply, thoughts cannot form so easily in your mind. And a crystal clear mind, a calm mind, can give us more awareness, and also we become more intuitive when we have this calm mind or no inner chatter. Okay? As the symbolism says, it's all about the air element. We have to start to breathe consciously, because by breathing in consciously, we also give prana to our body, we heal our body. We can also focus on success when we breathe in consciously, and more success will start to be drawn to us. Another way to use this card is to meditate on it, to look at it. Whenever you need motivation, it's a great card to look at. If you feel tired, or if you feel that you cannot accomplish something, or that you lack the spirit of adventure, just look at this card, and because it contains all these symbols, it will give a clear message to your subconscious mind that you want to spark in yourself more motivation. This is a great tool also to connect with the superconscious, with the higher intelligence. So you can just look at the card for a few minutes and just close your eyes after that and see what downloads, what wisdom you get out of this meditation. If you draw this card in a reading, this card indicates that you should consider adapting to change and to continue to be hopeful and have faith in your abilities. This card may be a heads up for you that new situations, events, or opportunities are ahead of you. This can also be a sign for you that you are feeling unprepared, as if you are stepping into a hole. However, if you are looking for advice and this card shows up, this is also a clear indication that you should consider choosing the opportunities that may seem risky but provide the most fun and the most adventure. The Magician, Symbolism and Numerology. The magician stands in a garden. He has his right hand pointed upwards. This means drawing energies or making contact with higher intelligence or the superconscious. The magician stands for self-awareness or subjective mind. As you can see also, the magician stands still. This is a clear indication to us that in order to make contact with the superconscious or higher intelligence, we have to stay still. Also, the mind, our subjective mind, must be still or empty of any noise that is not related to what we want to achieve. This means that when you are in a relaxed state, you have to focus only on one thing at a time, or the object of your desire, to not focus on multiple thoughts that arise in the mind. So we should do mental exercises that teaches us how to have good control over our imagination and our thoughts. And I think one great book to start your journey with mental exercises is Initiation into Hermetics by Franz Bardon, or any other book that teaches you how to have a better concentration. This magician holds a wand in his hand. This means controlled concentration. The left hand is pointing down. This means habit. The habit of using your concentration in the direction that you want. We see a lot of red in this card. Red is the color of desire and action. The magician has this white garment underneath. White means purity, but also stands for wisdom. So this magician, it's a wise person. Also, he has this serpent around his waist, which stands for eternity. Above the magician, we see the infinity symbol, but this is also number 8. This number represents the law of cause and effect. Number 1, which is the number of the magician card, represents determination. The magician stands in a garden, and the garden means the subconscious. Roses are a symbol of desire, and lilies are a symbol of wisdom. The table represents the field of attention, where the magician is looking at. The instruments that we see on the table are ceremonial magic tools, but they also represent the 4 elements: fire, water, air, and earth. And here willpower stands for the fire, the wand, air or sword stands for action, cups or water stands for imagination, pentacle or earth element stands for physical embodiment or manifestation. Also, what is important here to notice is that these elements gives us a clue of the power that we hold, right? The power of willpower, action, imagination, and also manifestation or physical embodiment. The magician, occult meaning. The magician card stands for concentration, clear and sharp awareness, sharp focus on what is happening in one's environment. Only by being focused on the present moment, on what is happening within in terms of thoughts, of what you imagine, only then we will be able to control a lot better our magical powers and our energy, just like this character, the magician. Also, if the Fool was about breathing, this card, the magician, also shows an indication that we have to breathe with an idea in mind for it to manifest. And many gurus and spiritual teachers actually teach people that if you breathe deeply while focusing on success, you will draw success onto you, because you concentrate on a specific mantra or idea while breathing in deeply. And by doing this, you align your energy with that idea of success. Also, the magician reveals to us that once we decide what we want, we have to concentrate on that mark in order to attain it. And here I will give you an example. When I wanted to change my job, I focused exclusively on that particular purpose. I've learned what I needed to learn for that purpose. I visualized only the fact that I was getting the job that I wanted. Of course, I focused on the mundane, spending time with my husband, friends, and so forth. But my main mental and imaginary focus was on getting that job. And I actually ended up getting the job that I wanted. So this means clear concentration, clear-cut concentration. This example illustrates that you have to concentrate upon the things that you desire to obtain. And because in my situation, I imagined and thought about all day, every day that I am in that position and having already that job, I actually attracted the people that I needed in order to fulfill my desire. In order to use this card, you can meditate on it to get those ideas that this card represents impressed into your subconscious. Also, because this is the card that represents concentration and focus, you can use this card, you can look at this card whenever you need to have a clear, sharp focus. You can just place this card in front of you, and whenever you feel that you lose focus, you can look again at the card. And this is an excellent card to have around when you are learning something. For example, when I learn how to code, I actually use the Magician card, which is the concentration card, and the High Priestess, which is the memory card. So you can do that as well. If the Magician card comes in a reading that you are doing, usually it's a clear indication that you have to use the tools, the talents, the skills that you have at your disposal to get ahead. This card indicates that everything that you need in order to make a change in your life, it's there for you to grab and to use. You just have to become aware and see it. Or this card can indicate in a reading that you need to find new ways to use your skills in your immediate environment or your job or in your relationships. If you need an answer, should I do this or not, and this card shows up in a reading, the answer is usually go ahead and do it because you have what you need. The idea is to show the world your skills, so to speak. The idea is to show the world your skills, to speak about them. And if you are looking for a new opportunity, for example, to show those people that you need recognition from, to show them your skills. The High Priestess, symbolism and numerology. The High Priestess stands for the subconscious mind. The High Priestess has the number 2 associated with it, and it means light, dark, contrast, subordination. So the subconscious is subordinated to the self-conscious, and this is a hidden meaning. This card is the card of memory. Remember that. But also because the High Priestess represents the subconscious mind, this card reveals to us a problem that we have, and that is called mind wandering, jumping from picture to picture. You see, the role of the magician here is to stop that mind wandering and to focus only on one picture at a time, to preserve energy and to have a definite purpose. We see also a lot of moon symbolism in this card that may make us think of lunar goddesses. For example, Selene, she has the power to awaken intuition, to give psychic visions. Selene was the goddess of solutions. Well, these are the powers of the subconscious mind. And if we sit still, just like the High Priestess, with our mind still, we will get inspiration that often is the solution to our problems. The High Priestess holds a scroll in her hand. A scroll is where you store information. This is a clear symbol that means memory. The subconscious mind stores memory and data. She sits between two pillars which represent contrast. You retain information better if it's contrasted, or if you associate some type of information with another information. That's the way in which you remember things better. For example, if someone says to you that their name is Green so-and-so, you can associate his name or her name with the grass color, right? And because you have an association in your mind, when you recall that name of the person, you remember their name faster because you did an association. The veil behind the High Priestess, where we see painted palms and pomegranates, symbolize the law of contrast. We see a lot of repetition. We see a pattern on this veil, and this means that what you repeat often gets fixed in your memory, and you can recall that information a lot easier. The High Priestess is dressed in a blue robe that flows like water. This is another symbol of the element of water, cups, but remember, the element of water in tarot is our human imagination. So make sure to imagine the right things for you. The waves that we see on her robe is a symbol of the law of vibration. Again, this may make us think of feelings and the fact that feelings create waves, vibration, and this means that our feelings create waves. The High Priestess stands on a cube, which is a symbol of the physical plane. This means that when you put images in order, or when you control the water, so to speak, or the imagination, you crystallize those mental images into form. The High Priestess, Occult Meaning. The High Priestess, like we said before, is the subconscious mind. That's the occult meaning. The seat of the subconscious mind is at the back of the head. My recommendation will be, if you want to learn something fast, to actually touch that area as you are giving it a command to retain that information a lot faster. Also, another meaning is memory, like we said before. The subconscious mind stores and collects every data of your five senses that come from your five senses. It's active both during the day and during the night. The way in which your subconscious mind communicates with the self-conscious is through a bodily feeling. When you enter a room, for example, the subconscious will warn you through a bodily feeling if that area is safe or not. You just have to pay attention to it in order to sensitize yourself to these kinds of communications. The way to communicate things to the subconscious mind is through mental images. Why? Because there is a communication between what you look at with your physical eyes and what you imagine. Data goes on the back of the head, where is the seat of the subconscious mind. So pay attention to what you look at and what you imagine. That's the secret key. Because this is the card of the subconscious, the High Priestess is the card of the subconscious and memory. You can use this card if you want to remember something. For example, if you want to recall what you've dreamed last night, you just have to relax your body, and then you have to look at the High Priestess card and actually speak to it as if it were another person. And say to it, I want to remember what I've dreamed last night. And then you look at the card with such intensity till you see the card glow. This can be achieved if you look at the card without even blinking. Okay? So if you look at the card in this manner, you will see that at some point the card may appear to have a glow around it. Then after this phenomena happen, you just have to close your eyes. And when you close your eyes, you will see something strange happening. You will see as if the tarot card is floating in the middle of the head. Then you just relax and banish any intrusive thoughts. You have to have a state of vacancy. And soon you will see that the memory of your dream will come. So this is a way in which you can use this tarot card. If the High Priestess comes in a reading, this means that you have to search deeper to uncover things, to view things from different angles to get a better understanding. This card also advises that maybe it's time to go within to do some inner work, shadow work, to uncover what is holding you back. She advises that you have some learning to do first in order to move to the next step. If you don't learn, you don't grow. If you are facing a new opportunity or situation and you need an answer to know what to do, this card means delay. Do not engage, just delay. Keep cool, calm, and collected. And delay, don't rush. Just gather all the data to have a much more clear image and then decide. The Empress, symbolism and numerology. The Empress has the number 3 associated with it, is the number of multiplication, is the number of birth, life, death, and also is the number of creativity. We also see a lot of green in this card. The green color stands for nature, abundance, even money. We see a lot of nature in this card, again, clear indication of abundance. We see the symbol of Venus. We will not go very deep into that because we will fall asleep here, but Venus, it means victory, but also means perfected creative imagination that leads to wisdom, universal wisdom. Also, it means power beyond our comprehension. The problem with most people is that they have such a distorted imagination which is easily influenced. And no wonder we have wars, drama, and no bloom. They are using the same power in an uncontrolled way, which is the power of human imagination. What a pity, isn't it? So watch out what you imagine about. We see in the back of the card, we see this body of water, which is a reference to the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is influenced by mental images and the power of suggestion given by the magician or the self-conscious. So in a nutshell, that water that you see in the background is symbol of the subconscious and imagination, which these forces are directed by the magician or the self-conscious only when you direct at will your imagination, you start to understand your power. The Empress has a crown on her head with 12 six-pointed stars. These are the 12 zodiac signs. The star is the universal force within man. The 7 pearls around her neck are the 7 known planets, but also they make a reference to the chakras. So it's all in the card, people. The Empress also has this scepter, which means dominion. Whatever you imagine consistently is bound to dominate the world. The Empress, occult meaning. The Empress represents, in pictorial form, our ability to create mental images. In the Builders of Aditum society, this card stands for creative imagination. The secret here is to organize these mental images. Now, the Empress, through its symbolism, reveals to us that we have this ability to imagine things. But we have to use the next tarot card, which is the Emperor, to put this imagination of ours in order. I used to look at television, for example, when I was younger, at TV dramas and so forth. And no wonder in my 20s there was a lot of drama happening because I was looking physically with my own eyes at animated pictures on a screen that were all about drama. So what you imagine day by day or think day by day, this is your mental screen that you look at every day. Well, out of this imaginary substance, things manifest into your immediate environment. Let's say that you've read the news, then talk about sickness, and then the next thing you find out is that your neighbor is sick of the same sickness that maybe you read about or talked about the other day. So this is the Empress, the mother giving birth to the mental images in your immediate environment. How to use this card? Well, first we have to realize that our imagination is very powerful and we have to stop imagining bullshit. Start to become conscious about what is happening on your mental screen and fixate your attention only on the good you desire for yourself and the environment. This is not an easy task, but when you go to the gym to exercise, that's not easy either. So you become better at it with persistent action. Because the Empress is the card of creative imagination, if you are having a job that requires creativity, you can just look at this card and meditate on it, and you'll see that you will be given inspiration to carry out creative projects. Also, if you are not good at visualizing, you can meditate on this card to improve this skill. If you draw this card in a reading, the Empress is the nurturer. If this card appears during a reading, well, it's time for you to focus on your own well-being and the well-being of the people around you. Nurture yourself, take care of yourself. Maybe it's time to focus on better nutrition. This is the card of pregnancy, love, romance, marriage. So it's an indication that your immediate action should be in nurturing these types of relationships and situations. If you are dealing with job offers, for example, this card indicates to you to choose the one that implies the most creativity. Also, if this card appears in a reading, maybe it's an indication that you should take care of your space where you live in. The Emperor. Symbolism and numerology. The Emperor is the father figure, stands for Mars, stands for action, reason, ambition, drive. Also stands for management. But management of what? Management of mental images or the management of imagination. The Emperor appears to be old as he has this long and white hair and beard, and usually old people are believed to be more wise because they went through many life experiences and can share their lessons with the younger generation. But also ancient bearded figures symbolize the Alpha and Omega. Some people even think that God is a bearded man. This is in a nutshell the symbol of wisdom. The number associated with the Emperor is number 4, the number of the square, the foundation, the number of the cube. The Emperor sits on a throne, which makes us think also of the High Priestess, who was sitting on a cube. The cube is the crystallization of the life power. In this card, we see the symbol of the ram a lot on his throne, on the Emperor throne, and this is the symbol of Aries. It means fire or sight, because with the sight, with your physical eyes, basically what you are looking at, you impress faster the subconscious mind. The Emperor has also a beautiful helmet that has the colors of gold and red, gold being the color of the sun, because it's believed that our thoughts are sun energy transformed by our brain. And again, red means Mars and fire. The Emperor has a scepter as well, which is the symbol of dominion. He has also a coin or an apple in his left hand. Again, this is a symbol of power. The Emperor is dressed in a beautiful armor, meaning strength, strong will, prepared for battle. Battle with what? Well, in this case, the battle is with the collective unconscious or conscious. And this means not letting your own mind be influenced by it. The Rocky Mountains in the back mean challenges or possible obstacles. The Emperor Occult Meaning. If the Empress was all about mental images, well, the Emperor, the reason or the reasoning mind, has to put these mental images in order. And that's what any good leader must do, is to put things in order so that things flow in a direction, in a certain direction, to achieve an aimed vision. Also, paying attention to how you utilize your imagination basically gives you higher awareness. Putting things in order, having order in your house, in your mind, this leads to more power to you, also to great memory. And the great memory leads to even more lucidity, both during the day and during the night. So do not waste any more time. This card indicates that we have to put those mental images in order. This means that if you desire to have money, all you have to do is to think 24 hours a day about money, of having money. If you have an addiction, for example, all day, every day, you have to use the force of Mars, of ambition, to overcome and to battle with that addiction and to imagine only the end result that you want. So you can meditate on this card in order to get your thoughts in order, to get drive and motivation, and to feel that true power that is within yourself. This card, it's all about action. Start doing and stop having a pity party like everyone else. Also, carry what you imagine into action. Imagination without some form of physical action is dead. If this card, the Emperor, comes up into a reading, this is the time for planning, to establish a list of tasks that you have to do to fulfill those dreams of yours. It indicates that you have to take charge of the situation by thinking clearly what needs to be done and to act on it. Start to structure what you want to do, because if you have a good plan, it's more likely for you to succeed. If your questions when you are asking for advice are related to relationships and this card comes up, you should consider to take responsibility or to take the leader role and to give the direction of your relationship. Also, if you are doing business, for example, and this card comes in a reading, it may also mean that you micromanage way too much things and it's time to consider a different approach. The idea here is to get control over the situation in a harmonious way. The Hierophant, Symbolism and Numerology. The Hierophant, the master teacher of the tarot, is the Pope, and also it means and it stands for the sense of hearing or inner hearing. This card is associated with number 5, and number 5 stands for life lessons learned through experience. The Hierophant appears to be a higher authority. His right hand gives the sign of benediction or blessing. This means that whenever you listen to your intuition, you will be blessed, because this card stands for intuition. Also, this gesture, this sign of benediction, it symbolizes the Trinity. The Hierophant sits between two pillars, the pillar of mercy and the pillar of severity, which stands for duality, contrast, good and evil. He has a triple crown, which stands for spiritual sovereignty and one force. He also has a staff, which stands for dominion, and we see 3 bars on that staff, again the symbol of the Holy Trinity. Let's look at how he is dressed. He has a lot of ornaments around the ears, symbolizing that we have to pay attention to the hearing sense. Around his neck, he has a blue scarf, which is a symbol of the throat chakra and means speaking the truth. At his feet, we see 2 crossed keys, and these are the keys to the kingdom of heaven, or they may mean the keys to knowledge. We see a lot of crosses, and the cross is also the symbol of religion, but also the 4 corners of the world and the 2 solstices. Before the Hierophant, there are 2 people who kneel, as if they are the audience and are listening to what the wise man has to say. This is another symbol that urges us to listen to our inner teacher. The whole symbolism screams divine wisdom, learning, and listening. The Hierophant, Occult Meaning. The Hierophant stands for intuitive abilities, intuition, and inner teacher. When you enter into a room, for example, you feel if something is off. Well, that's your inner knowledge speaking, and that's your inner knowledge evaluating the energy of the room. The next thing you know, if you did not leave that room, an accident may have happened. Or let's say that you receive a present from somebody and you know intuitively what it is. Or you may even hear a little voice telling you what's in that present. Usually this little voice is heard and appears to come from the middle of the body. Again, I want to emphasize this. Usually this little voice, the voice of intuition, when it's heard, it appears to come from the middle of the body. If what you are hearing is loud, and if you try to localize this voice and you observe that this voice happens in the region of the head, usually be very aware that's not your intuition. So I've learned to distinguish between the voice by practicing awareness. This doesn't mean that I'm a specialist, by no means, but you see, I'm trying my best to be aware and act immediately when I catch the voice of intuition. So because this card is the card of intuition, let me illustrate an example and to give you an example on how you can use this card as well for your benefit. In my case, I received an offer from a company to work for them for a few hours a week. And I was hesitant to accept the offer at first because I already have a full-time job. But I started to meditate on this problem, and I just retreated in my bedroom. I closed my eyes and I started to imagine the Hierophant card. So I just imagined this card and I started to ask myself, my inner being, what should I do? Should I accept the offer or should I decline the offer? And the answer came, like I've said, I felt it in the region of the belly area or solar plexus area. And usually from there, the intuition is heard. And the answer was yes, to accept this particular offer. And I accepted it, and it has been amazing because I acted on my intuition. So my recommendation is to use this card in this manner whenever you need to reach out to your intuition and to be given guidance from within. If you draw this card in a reading, if you are doing a reading and the Hierophant shows up, this is all about communicating important things that have value. If you are dealing with any kind of situation, be it business, relationships, this card indicates that you have to evaluate. Evaluate your beliefs, your actions, or what you are dealing with. If you are doing a good evaluation, then you are more certain to make the right choice for your advantage. If you are dealing with a problem, seek out help from specialized institutions, as this card also means institution or some sort of group that is prepared on a particular domain and has the right expertise to help you with your problem. This card may also suggest aligning yourself with these types of organizations that may have the solution to your problem. The Lovers, Symbolism and Numerology. The Lovers is the discrimination card. The Lovers card is associated with number 6, the hexad, love, partnership, harmony. We see in this card 3 main figures. The man is the representation of the self-conscious, us when we are aware, which is the man from this card. The woman is the subconscious. The angel is the superconscious. Also, this card is a depiction of the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Now, this card speaks about getting into the temptation of believing that the exterior world that you see around you is the one that influences you. Now, based on what you play on the inside, that's what will start to appear on the physical. However, we come with a baggage that comes from society, parents, relatives, friends, that contradicts the idea that what you are imagining and feeling as real are the tools of creation. If you are saying to someone that you manifest your reality by using your imagination, probably they will say that you are crazy and that you need help. So that's the idea of this card. We see in the background a mountain, and is the same mountain depicted in the Fool and the Hermit cards, and this mountain stands for overcome obstacles. On the back of the man, who represents the self-conscious, like we said before, there is this tree that has leaves that look like flames, which are the 12 zodiac signs. Behind the woman, there is another tree, which is the tree of good and evil, and the snake stands for the Kundalini force. The man is looking at the woman because the self-conscious can give directions to the subconscious through the power of autosuggestion, and by looking at things, the woman or the subconscious is looking at the angel, which is the superconscious, because with the right instructions, this subconscious can give back to us, the self-conscious, universal wisdom. The angel that we see in the card is Archangel Raphael, because by making this contact with the superconscious, healing takes place. The yellow color gives us reference to the air element and the breath. The Lovers, Occult Meaning. The occult meaning of this card, the Lovers, is discrimination. And let's look on Google what discrimination means. And on Google I found that discrimination means recognition and understanding of the differences between one thing and another. So in order to do this activity of discrimination, we use the Emperor, which stands for reason, and the Empress, which is creative imagination, plus the Hierophant, which is intuition. Okay, but in our case, what has this thing have to do with us? Well, it's all about knowing to discriminate between what comes as inspiration, for example, from the superconscious versus our own thoughts, and discrimination between our thoughts and the thoughts of other people. And I'm telling you, this card is fantastic to carry around if you are a hardcore empath. Now, to illustrate this idea of understanding discrimination between your thoughts and the thoughts that come from other people, I want to share with you a little story. So I was in the grocery shop and I was buying, I think, some fruits and vegetables, and next to me there was this woman, and she was putting in her a bag, I think some onions or something like that, when I started to feel like eating cake. And I knew, because I practice a lot awareness, I knew that this was not my actual thought, was the thought of this woman. She actually wanted to buy some cake and to eat it. And yeah, you have to distinguish between your self-generated thoughts and the thoughts that come from other people. And empaths usually pick up these thoughts, and if you are not aware, you may believe that that thought is actually yours, and you may end up going and buying a whole cake and eat it. Just because you picked that thought from somewhere and from someone that was near you in a grocery shop, for example. So this is what this card is speaking about. We have to learn how to discriminate between our self-generated thoughts and the thoughts that come from other people. And this discrimination or this ability to distinguish between your own and the thoughts that come from other people comes when you practice a vacancy of mind or awareness or mindfulness. When you are emptying your mind on a regular basis, for example, if I have no thoughts and I strive to have no thoughts right now, and if another person comes and he is thinking about a cheeseburger, probably that thought will reach me, but it's my responsibility to accept it or reject it. You get what I'm saying here? Okay, so by sharing with you this story, I wanted to make a point about discrimination. Okay? So you can use this card, the Lover's card, to create that clarity, to create that ability. And by meditating on this card, you'd get clarity of what things are self-generated and what things are actually coming from someone else. So use this card whenever you need to access the power of discrimination. If you are doing a reading for yourself or for somebody else, and this card, Lovers, comes up, it's all about relationships. When this card comes in a reading, it's about how you handle your most important relationships, how you handle your business relationships, love relationships, and so forth. If you don't have social relationships or loved ones, this card may come in a reading to tell you that maybe it's time to allocate some time in order to build healthy relationships. Also, it may mean a love triangle or some weird relationship problem. May also be related to business, on how you choose certain persons or business partners. Also, this card may come up in a reading when you are placed in a situation where you need to choose between two things. And this card advises you to meditate on the situation in order to make the right choice for you and your well-being. The Chariot. Symbolism and numerology. The Chariot is associated with number 7, which stands for mastery, peace, but also accomplishment and balance. We see a man in this card who is the rider, so to speak. This is the real self. The body, our physical body, is the vehicle with those two wheels, and this vehicle is drawn by horses. These horses are actually our physical senses, and pretty much this card speaks about understanding that everything is energy and the fact that we have to control our senses, our mind, our speech, our action, and by having a control of these factors, we navigate the world in the direction that we want. Another thing that is important here is to have that power of reasoning, that power of the Emperor, to have controlled imagination, which is the Empress, and to pay attention to our intuition, which is the Hierophant, that leads to good discrimination. And only when we have good discrimination, we can reach the target or your manifested intent. So as you can see, these cards build upon the previous one. In the Chariot card, we have also this winged sun, which is placed on the vehicle, which is an ancient symbol for the sun god. Also, we see the 8-pointed star crown, which is a symbol of above and space and order of the cosmos. The Chariot has a scepter in his hand. Again, this is a symbol of dominion, authority, and power. Also, he wears the belt of the goddess around his waist. He is dressed in this beautiful armor, which is symbol of battle, because you must battle with the mind, senses, and imagination in order to keep them going in a certain direction. We have a white sphinx, which is the symbol for mercy, and the black sphinx, which is the symbol of justice. But also the self has to control these sphinxes to maintain the right balance. Behind the Chariot, we see a city, we see walls, and this means he is outside, unprotected, and he has to be very disciplined in his behavior. The Chariot, Occult Meaning. The Chariot stands for receptivity and willpower. Now we will not enter into too many details here, because if you meditate on this card and read about it, at one point you will see that you will download the information. But willpower, okay? There are many definitions of willpower, but will is an energetic connection. That's all I'm gonna say because otherwise I will confuse. In simple terms, let's say that willpower is the motivation that you have within yourself to keep going. It's the power that drives people to go forward although it may appear that they lost the battle. It's the force, the energy that makes you win in life. Now to go a little bit deeper, let's say that you desire a house. You visualize your house, you imagine yourself having it. Well, between you and that object, that house, an energetic cord is created, a light cord. And you will it to come to you. And this is the power that makes it happen, that comes from inside your body. The way, so to speak, you control this power is by having a clear intent. By intending something and keeping that intention light up, you get what you want. You keep on intending something by focusing all your concentration upon it. So how to use this card? Well, use this card when you need this inner power, this inner drive in your life. Meditate on this card. If you are wanting to manifest something, whatever you want, look at this card and you will see that you will receive inspiration on how to put yourself in alignment with that desire of yours. Also, this card can teach you what actions you need to take in order to create momentum in your life in order to get that desire accomplished. If you draw this card in a reading, if the chariot comes up in a reading, this may mean that you are pulled in different directions by people, situations, or by your own thoughts, feelings, and desires. This means that you should consider analyzing the situation and making this more manageable by making a plan for yourself. Also, it may indicate that you need to move in the direction of your life purpose and to focus on your life purpose, because right now it seems that you get distracted by other things that are not related to it. Maybe in order to move in that direction of your life purpose, you need to upgrade your job skills, for example, or social skills. And this card says to stop being distracted and to focus on what you have to do in order to accomplish your dreams. Also motivate yourself to do it. This card may also indicate travel to some place and you need to go to that certain place in order to accomplish your goal. The Strength, Symbolism, and Numerology. The Strength card has the number 8 associated with it. It symbolizes infinity, spiritual perfection. In this card, we see a woman with a lion. She has the symbol of infinity above her head, just like the magician. This woman is actually the subconscious. You see, whenever you see a woman in a major arcana, just so you know, is the subconscious. She is dressed in white because this means the self-conscious or the magician did a really good job in giving her suggestions of love, prosperity, etc. And now she is purified of negative influence. And the subconscious now, because was given correct suggestions, acts on these. As you can see, she has a crown made of flowers, and this is a clear indication of correct influence over the cells in the body. And also it means blooming of health and regeneration of the body, because that's what the subconscious does. If it has the correct suggestion of health, happiness, love, success, she will build this body of ours accordingly. If we focus on the negative, well, disease starts to take form. Now, this woman from the Strength card has a chain of roses that surrounds her and the lion as well. And this chain of roses was meant to make the figure 8 to represent the currents of prana moving through the body. Anyway, the roses symbolize desires, but also we have this figure 8, which means harmonizing our desires. Also have a big lion in this card. If you search on Google, the lion in the human body, pretty much it says that is the lumbar region of the spinal column, and this lion right here is a reference to the alchemical lion, which is the backbone. That's what this symbol is trying to tell us. We see in the background of this card a lot of yellow. Again, this is an indication that we have to pay attention to our breathing, to this air element. And we have to do breath work in order to harmonize this prana that is running through our body. Again, we see the mountain in the back. It's the same mountain that stands for obstacles, but also overcome obstacles. The Strength card, Occult Meaning. The Strength card is all about Kundalini and how to rise that serpent power. As you can see, every card builds upon the previous one, right? So the first card that we have in the Major Arcana is the Fool. And that card speaks about breath, okay? And basically how breath connects you with the superconscious. Now, I am no expert, no guru, no nothing like that. I'm just a normal person who practices what I read about. And because I practice what I read about, I got to experience a lot of weird things till now. You see, if you study and if you read about how to rise your Kundalini, you will see that many spiritual gurus out there and spiritual teachers say that when the serpent power awakens, you will feel this electrical current traveling from the base of the spine, traveling along the spine and moving directly to your head. Well, this thing happened to me as well. I was practicing at that time Caucasian yoga, but also other things as well. So I don't know for sure if this experience happened to me because of the Caucasian yoga or because I was using my imagination, for example, in a conscious manner. Because you see, if you read about these tarot cards, you'll also understand that when you are focusing on certain mental images for a long time, what you are actually using the serpent power to a certain degree in a conscious manner. So this is another way of getting there. But in Caucasian yoga was all about breathing exercises, heavy breathing exercises, and and yes, it felt exactly like it was described in the books. However, what I believe in terms of Kundalini is that no, you don't become this enlightened being, supreme being. You will have perception beyond the physical. That for sure. If this happens to you, it's clear that you will have a perception beyond the physical sense of sight. Because what you end up doing when you are rising your Kundalini, you are actually lightening up your nervous system. And because you are doing that, something inside your brain happens, I don't know what. But yes, you will be able to see beyond the physical sense of sight. And it's a horror show. Yeah, it is. At first, After it happened to me, I was very aware and it was all nice and I was like feeling like a different person. But after a while, I started to see these weird things. And yeah. Anyway, I think that speaking about these things is not of very much importance, but I think it's more important for you to understand to stop using your imagination in an unconscious way. There are many paths that you can follow in order to have mystical experiences and so forth. But I think you must be very careful, because in my case, it was bad. I felt like my body was gonna go, so to speak. Yeah. So just because I am saying to you right now in this video, hey, this happened to me because I did so and so, I think that you should take a careful consideration on what you decide to do. You are responsible for your own actions, okay? I am doing certain things because I am nuts, right? But you don't have to be. Okay, moving on. If you draw this card in a reading, if you are doing a reading and this card shows up in your reading, the Strength card, this card is telling that you have to gather your courage and your strength to solve these problems that you are facing. It tells you that you have to take the role of the pillar to offer strength to those around you. Or in your relationship or business, you have to prove that you have courage to take the next step. Also, this card may indicate that you need to take care of your body, to strengthen your mind, to nurture your health. But also this card may mean to control with strength your actions and overcome procrastination or your animal nature, which in essence means to become more aware, to not be moved by inertia. The Hermit, symbolism and numerology. The Hermit shows us a man standing on a mountain and holding a lantern. The Hermit number is number 9 and is the number of completion of a cycle. And when we reach the completion of something, that means that we are about to start something new. The character in the card is dressed like a prophet, and this indicates to us a person who acknowledges the law and obeys it, therefore he knows how events will play out as he is carefully moving one step at a time. The Hermit has a staff, which is the axis connecting man with the superconscious. Standing on the mountain means overcoming obstacles, also accomplishments. This Hermit has a lantern, and the lantern we see it has a 6-pointed star in it, which is the symbol that we also see in the star card. And this is the star of David, and David means beloved of God. This symbol represents also the true triangle, intertwine, which means balance between the feminine energy and the masculine energy. Also, you can think of a sync between the left brain and the right brain. Now, the whole image suggests a completion, meditation, retreating in a silent area in order to have access to wisdom. Because in silence, there, you will always have access to the power of the universe or your own inner wisdom. The Hermit, occult meaning. The Hermit tells us that once we know that our sustained mental images use a portion of the power of the serpent, we are a little bit wiser. So this is the wise man who knows that by sustaining mental images that represents his success, he becomes the prophet that is the one who knows his future. You know the future because you imagine it. Some people, in my opinion, make the mistake to start to convince people about this knowledge when they find it. My advice is to write about it, write a blog about it or something and chill, okay? Who needs to hear it, who needs to find this information will find it. You don't need to act as a prophet. You don't have to stress about it to try to change the system. The only thing that you can change in this world is you. So don't be bitter, be better at practicing this art. That's all that we have to do. Another important thing is that this hermit is telling us about gut health. If you have good gut health, you will have a good body that you can use to your benefit. But the important message here is that you can control health, your health, through the power of auto-suggestion. By eating consciously, by telling your subconscious to maintain your body in divine order and in perfect health. Whenever you are having a meal, if you give correct suggestions, your subconscious mind will act accordingly. Another thing that this card speaks about is conscious food choices. This old man here represents the magician or self-conscious, gone wise, okay? So this means that we have to choose wisely everything about our life, from food to actions. As a way to use this card, the simplest way is to meditate on it in order to make wise choices. This card speaks about solitude, silence, because when you silence your mind, you have access to wisdom and to intuition. So practice daily vacancy of mind. If you are doing a reading and this card pops up, of course, it is advisable to look at the symbolism and to use your intuitive abilities. But there are other things as well that you may take in consideration, such as the way the character in the card sits. Our hermit is holding his lantern and he is positioned towards left. The left direction is the direction of the past. Okay, so left equals past. The right direction is the future. So this card may indicate that you need to look in the past in order to understand the lessons that life gave you in order to have a bright future. Let's say that you are doing a reading in regards to your love relationship and this card shows up. So maybe look in the past for the mistakes that you made, the red flags that you ignored, and use those lessons learned to have an even more fantastic relationship now or in the future. The same thing applies for business. Look in the past for lessons. Look for the lessons that you can take from the past in order to have a better tomorrow. The Wheel of Fortune, symbolism and numerology. The Wheel of Fortune makes you think immediately of lady luck, chance, winning, but also losing. The Wheel of Fortune is associated with number 10, which means completion of a cycle and the start of a new one. The main element that we see in this card is, of course, the wheel. The wheel represents the cycles in human life. It can mean also the cycles of nature, life and death. On the wheel, we have tarot written and we also have Yod He Vav He, the sacred word of God. On top of the wheel is the Sphinx standing there with a sword. The Sphinx means the balance between combining elements, also male and female. Also, this creature has a sword, and the sword, as we know, is the representation of the air element. This can indicate that the individual understood that the breath can bring energetic nourishment to the body if it's done consciously. Now, this wheel on this wheel, we have a jackal-headed figure, which is Anubis god, and he stands for evolution of humanity over time. On the four corners of the card, we have the man, the eagle, the bull, and the lion. And if you study further these symbols, you will see that Scorpio is the eagle, and usually these are interchangeable, and it stands for the reproductive system or the sexual organs, the blood, and the bowels. The bull or ox or Taurus astrological sign stands for the neck and shoulders. The lion may stand for the solar plexus, some even attribute it to the heart center. The man represents Aquarius, and in the body is the circulatory system and the legs. We see the Mercury symbol, which is the symbol of the superconscious. We see the sulfur symbol, which is the symbol of the magician, therefore the self-conscious. We also see the symbol of salt. Of course, this is the symbol of inertia, the subconscious. The Wheel of Fortune, Occult Meaning. Rota Tarot Orat Torah Ator. This means the Wheel of Tarot speaks of the law of Ator. Ator or Hathor, same thing. Hathor is an Egyptian goddess, but also is the goddess of the tarot. Hathor, actually, in tarot, is the Empress. Okay? Let that sink in. Hathor is the Empress. So the tarot, or according to the Wheel of Fortune, is speaking about the law of Hathor, which is none other than the Empress. The name Hathor also stands for the eye of Ra, the eye that sees everything. Well, we spoke previously about the Empress, right? And the occult meaning of the Empress is imagination. So to conclude, the law of Hathor is the law of the Empress, which means the law of imagination. Well, I must say, folks, that Neville Goddard clearly was ahead of his time, and yes, imagination creates reality. Another important clue that this card gives us is that the Wheel of Fortune is actually a representation of Jupiter, the god of abundance, or the good fortune in astrology. What is interesting, even more interesting, is that actually Jupiter in the human body is the middle of the body, is the solar plexus area. And in the solar plexus area, there is a group of nerves which is in the middle of the body. Anyway, another important factor that I want you to consider here is that if you search about immortality, immortality doesn't actually mean longevity of the human body. Immortality means 24 hours of awareness. And there is a clear connection between the middle of the body and this human awareness. And let me illustrate that. Usually, if you wake up in the middle of the night from a dream, or if you are doing meditation, for example, you will feel something in that region. You will feel some sort of sensation in the middle of the body. If you fall in love, again, where do you feel those butterflies? Usually in the middle of the body. Why is this Jupiter point so important? Well, it's important because from that point, the energetic connection starts. So, this card may also suggest that we have to explore more information or more practices that are related to the solar plexus region. Anyway, I don't think it's needed to say more of this card because conscious use of imagination will make you understand for sure how things play out. Another thing that this card speaks about is the law of rotation. The law of rotation indicates how life cycles are playing, or how your life is playing in cycles. Now, I understood better this law of rotation when I did a full life recapitulation. I learned about this process called life recapitulation from Carlos Castañeda's book, From Don Juan, and at that time I was studying dreaming and tarot. So I did my life recapitulation from the beginning of my life, as I could remember it, till nowadays. And while I was doing it and while I was writing about my life, I understood how what I imagined and taught regularly were manifested in cycles in my life. And I had experiences that occurred at certain periods in my life, and when they happened, I did not understood why they happened to me. But they happened to me because those events obeyed what I imagined frequently. So I understood that what goes around comes around. Also, I understood that what I imagine or what actions I do today will come multiplied in the future. So this is the law of rotation. But you have to look at how things played out in your life in order to understand it a little bit better, and to understand how to use this law of rotation for your benefit. If you draw this card in a reading, this card tells you that we have to be aware, conscious of what is happening in our life. We have to pay close attention to how the law of cause and effect is occurring in our life. You are the cause, and you cause the environment to react to your thinking, acting, and speaking. And based on your thinking process, what you imagine, what you speak about, what you look at, the environment reacts and shows you what you concentrated your attention upon the most. If you are confused and this card shows up in a reading, ask yourself, what actions did you do that brought yourself in this situation of confusion? Ask yourself, where do you want your life to move, in which direction? So when this card shows up, it may tell you that you are not open to new opportunities. It may tell you that you are not open to change. And you see, those that do not adapt fast to changes usually lose the game. So pay attention to these things. Justice, symbolism, and numerology. In this card, we see this woman sitting down, just like the High Priestess, and this character holds a sword and scales. The sword is the representation of the element of air, of mental action. Now, this woman has some scales, which are the symbol of balance. The character is wearing a beautiful crown that has some sort of stone or square in the middle. This is the symbol of clarity, because when you meditate and want to receive inspiration, one can focus on the crown chakra for inspiration and gaining clarity over what you are planning to do. We see a lot of gray here. The columns are gray, the floor is gray, and the gray is a neutral color, an indication to stay neutral in life and to choose wisely between things. We have those columns which represent polarity. We see behind the character some sort of veil but has the color purple. Also, purple is related to anything magical or the magical arts. Also may be a hint that this color represents the Akasha, and the two pillars again suggests to us an upgrade, that the conscious suggestion is taking place and influencing in the right direction the subconscious powers. The color of the robe of this character is red, which indicates action, passion, and movement. Justice, occult meaning. So we see two pillars, scales, a sword, a veil. But what does it mean? What practical advice can we take from all these symbols? Well, this card speaks strongly about the law of polarity. Now hear this out. I found it on the internet. Let me read this paragraph to you. By rising above these influencing causes, the advanced hermetics seek a higher plane of mental action, and by dominating their moods, their emotions, their impulses, and feelings, they create for themselves new characters, qualities, and powers by which they overcome their ordinary environment and thus become practically players instead of mere pawns. Okay, so we clearly see in the Justice card the sword, which is mental action, and we see scales. And this whole card stands for the law of polarity. Let me give you an example to illustrate this a lot better, to understand a lot better what this Justice card wants to tell us. Let's say that there is this guy named Max that wants a bigger salary, but he doesn't know what direction to go, in order to get another job that pays way better. So he has two options here. One is to stay in this miserable place like an ordinary guy, and second is to create a vision of the future for himself where he is employed elsewhere and he earns a lot of money and he has a comfortable lifestyle. All he has to do is to use the power of his creative imagination to imagine himself day by day in this pleasant, magnificent job. He has to choose between two poles or between two situations. In this case, he has to use his mental action. He has to imagine himself in a well-paid job that makes him happy. He has to dominate his mood and emotion by feeling and imagining himself over and over again in this well-paid job. And if he keeps this vision steady like that sword that is held by the Justice card, inspiration will be downloaded through his crown, and he will know what physical action he needs to take in order to obtain that job in the physical. So pretty much we apply here what the Kybalion says about the law of polarity. We have to destroy an undesirable rate of vibration, putting in operation the principle of polarity, and concentrate upon the opposite pole to that which you desire to suppress. So that's pretty much it. We are dealing, like we said in the Wheel of Fortune card, we are dealing with the law of Hathor. We are dealing with the law of the Empress or the law of imagination here. So we are the one responsible how we use it every day. So this is all about the Justice card. We have to learn how to use the law of polarity to our advantage. If you are doing a reading and the Justice card comes in, use your mind wisely. Sharpen it. The sword, like we said many times in this video, is the air element and stands for intellect. So use that mind of yours to get what you want. This card may represent some legal situation going on in your life, but also may mean that you signed a contract of some sort and you have to pay attention if it was written right, and if it is, to honor those obligations that you signed up for. It may not even be related to something legal, but maybe it's some sort of promise that you did to yourself or to other people that you need to fulfill. Also, it may mean that you need to read some sort of agreement with someone or to settle some sort of business. Always look for the solution that gives an advantage to you and the other people involved as well. It may also mean that you deal in your life right now with a corrupt person, and again, use your intelligence, use your sword to cut through that situation and to maintain your integrity in any decision or action that you need to take. The Hangman. In this card, we see this man standing upside down. His legs form the number 4 inverted, which is a direct indication to the Emperor card, the Reason card. So keep order in your thoughts. The hands of the Hanged Man form a triangle, and also this is the number 3. In the tarot, number 3 is the Empress or the creative imagination. So we see number 4 and 3 here, which again states that we have to keep our imagination in order. The jacket of the Hanged Man is blue, which means water, okay, or again imagination. Also it can mean, or it can indicate to us the powers of the subconscious. His pants are red. This color stands for the power of Mars, of action, of force. This character has a halo around his head, and this means he is connected with the divine. We also see a rope here, which is the symbol of being bound. So he is bound to this T-shaped wood structure, which means spiritual life. Also, this card is associated with number 12. We have 12 months in a year, 12 zodiac signs, but also number 1 is the self-conscious, number 2 is the subconscious, and 1 plus 2 equals 3, and again we go back to the creative imagination that we have to take care of. The Hanged Man, Occult Meaning. You see, whenever I look at the Hanged Man, I always remember one book. And this particular book has the title, The Master's Sacred Knowledge, A Key to Your Inner Treasure by Alan Rufus. The book is about a young man who wants to commit suicide in a forest, but just before he is about to hang himself, an old master comes and asks this young man to listen to some stories, and then he can continue to do what he planned. The old master teaches the young soul to view the world differently than most people do, to use his spiritual gifts by starting to develop his inner awareness and imagination. And as soon as the master finishes his lessons, the young man now has hope, because now he knows about the tools that he has in his possession. And as soon as the old master sees this hope in this young man's eyes, he advises the young man to hang himself, but this time by the foot instead of his neck, because now he will be able to see the world from a whole different perspective, even upside down than the rest of the world. So this is a beautiful book that I recommend you to read. And like I said, whenever I see this card, the Hanged Man, I am always reminded of that particular book. Now, the occult meaning of this card is reversal. And this card is associated with the Hebrew letter Mem, which stands for water. But this is the water of the alchemist. This is the great magical agent. Now, we will not dive too deep in these waters because in order to understand it, let's say that this water is energy. And if you have experienced in your life lucid dreaming, it's impossible for you not to see it. Because when you are viewing the environment while being lucid, you will see that the world around you has this water-like quality. You feel as if you are underwater, pretty much. And that's the energy out of which that world of dreams, let's say that way, it's made of, is that watery substance. Another thing that I want to point out here is that this card is about suspending mental activity. The Hanged Man literally means suspend the mental activity so that you are able to perceive that spiritual energy a lot better. Also, you can receive instructions when you suspend your mental activity. So, yeah. For example, if you are wanting to do a decision and you need clarity for it, you need to suspend all that mental activity, all that noise, that inner chatter in order to get clarity. So this is an excellent card to meditate upon whenever you need to suspend, to have that vacancy of mind in order to be able to download information from your higher self. If the Hanged Man appears in a reading, this is a clear indication to suspend for a while what you are doing, because the next steps require some digging, some different actions that you need to take. So give it some thinking, maybe form a mastermind group to help you out with some new perspectives on how to solve that situation that you are in. Also, if you feel you are stuck, try to change your perspective, how you look at your problems. Think from another person's point of view. Start to look at other materials, books, ways of doing things than you are used to do them. So this card speaks about changing your way of looking at things or the situations in which you are in. The Death card, symbolism and numerology. The Death card is the card that means change and transformation. We see a skeleton, which is what remains after death. But this skeleton is dressed in an armor, meaning that death is powerful. He is wearing a helmet with a red feather, again a symbol of power. He is riding on a white horse, and white is the meaning for purity. He is wearing a flag, and on that flag we see the white rose of the House of York, which stands for purity but also religion. In this card we see this priest who is begging for mercy and praying. We see a woman, we see a fallen king, we see a kid, which is a symbol of innocence. On the back, we see this river, the sticks in the background. We see the sunrise, and usually death is depicted as sunset, but here we see some sunrise going on, which stands for new beginnings and change. Death, occult meaning. The Death card is all about moving the right energy inside your body so that you reach this spiritual state that makes you understand that you are not your personality, that you are not your physical body, that you are not your mind, and makes you reach this spiritual state that makes you understand that you are pure consciousness. Also, this card is very obscure. Not so much is said about it in books and such, but if you meditate on it, and especially if you practice dreaming, you will understand that energetically you look like an egg shape. Okay? So this card speaks about how you look energetically. Okay? So humans actually look energetically like an egg shaped light. That's how humans appear. And when they move around, they leave a trail behind. And pretty much when death comes, this energy is released out of the physical shell, and the energy is released through the solar plexus out. And that's why on some death tarot cards you will see a little egg on the card. Another interesting fact is that this death character here holds a flag with a white rose, which is the white rose of the House of York. But the pattern of the rose is quite peculiar. If you search about this symbol, you will find that it has something to do with the Virgin Mary, the pregnant woman, which is actually the Empress. So we go back to the Empress. But you see, when you close your eyes and if you are doing deep breathing exercises, or if you just suspend the mental activity, some weird shapes start to form, okay? And if you pay close attention, those geometrical or whipped shape that start to form inside your mind when you are in a state of vacancy of mind actually are very, very similar to that pattern of the rose. But besides this energy teaching, this card speaks about change. It speaks about transformation, and change and transformation, these are needed in order to move on, to evolve. If you draw this card in a reading, the death card is about elimination, and it's a hard card to come across because it means to cut out people or things out of your life, or to change certain aspects about ourselves or how we live our life. This can be hard because change is hard. So if you are seeking some sort of advice and this card shows up, well, it advocates cutting something out of your life. It may be related to food. It may be related to a job that you don't like. But it's something that you have to get rid of or to change. The Temperance card, symbolism and numerology. In the Temperance card, we see an angel. Usually in the tarot, the angel is the symbol of our higher self or the superconsciousness, or is the symbol of our inner voice that guides us in times of need. The angel in this card is Michael, and we see that he has some red wings to illustrate his fiery nature. Also, this Archangel Michael is usually associated with battle, therefore with Mars energy and the fire element. He is dressed in this beautiful white robe, which means purity of mind and all pure things. On his robe, there is written the holy word of the Tetragrammaton. On some versions of the tarot, there is a 7-pointed star or the heptagon, which is a symbol that stands for mastery. On other variations of the tarot, we see just a yellow triangle, which refers to the air element. The angel has a halo around his head, meaning enlightenment. He has 1 foot on the ground and 1 foot on the water. meaning that he is able to control both his body and his imagination. Earth and water. Water in most cases in tarot stands for imagination, and earth stands for physical embodiment. This angel is pouring water from one cup to the other, which stands for verification, mastery, and flow. We see in the background the sun, which stands for energy. We see a path that leads toward the sun, which is the path of success. We see two flowers and vegetation, and pretty much the elements from the background mean harmony or relationship with nature. Temperance, occult meaning. The builders of Oditum, or more said, Paul Foster Case, said that this card stands for verification of the law, which makes sense because in order to make yourself believe that yes, you have the power in you to achieve the great work, or maybe you don't want such matters, you just want a comfortable life to achieve your desires and be happy, you have to verify these spiritual laws. Well, in order to do that, we should try to apply this knowledge of these laws and to see for ourselves that yes, imagination creates reality, that yes, by controlling our moods, feelings, and thoughts, we can achieve great things in our life. So by practicing what we learn about, we will understand these spiritual laws a lot better. This is what this card is telling us here through its symbolism. So the way to learn is to apply. Especially if you are reading about spiritual matters, don't let it be just theory. Practice what you read about and take note on how things start to move and shift in your life. The Temperance is associated with number 14. Again, number 1 is the self-conscious, number 4 stands for order. And the sum of these two equal 5, which is the Hierophant. Therefore, what you are mixing, what you decide to practice as a spiritual practice, must come from your intuition in order to be successful. So be guided by your intuition when you are choosing a spiritual practice. If the Temperance card appears in a reading, it's about mixing things in order to achieve well-being in your life. It's a message from your higher self and stresses the idea of self-management in all areas of your life. It's about taking control, it's about discipline, and most importantly, taking action, both mental and physical, to achieve the desired outcome. If this card comes up, it's better to select other tarot cards along with it, because the Temperance says to mix things, and the other cards will help you to get clarity in regards to what you need to mix or practice in order to have a better result. The Devil, symbolism and numerology. The Devil is an interesting card about bounce. The Devil card shows us a devil and two people, a man and a woman. Again, here we are dealing with the self-conscious and the subconscious, which are bound by the physical world of appearances. There are people that believe and think that only this physical world is the only reality, or they believe that what is imagined is actually not real. Also, there are these people that think that this physical reality is the only real thing in this world. So they are bound. You see, everything comes from imagination. Even the chair that you sit in. The chair was a mental image at some point, and someone acted on it and brought it to life, and you are now using it. All there is around you is just a mental image that is crystallized. It was at one point just a potential in the field of energy. And now, because someone acted on that potential, it became reality for you and me. Okay, let's dive into the symbols. We see a horned person in the back there, which is the personification and evil, the actual devil. This devil makes a hand gesture, and from what I understood, this is a blessing gesture done by the Jewish priests in their holy temples, or something along those lines. I don't know for sure. But this became more popular. This gesture became more popular because it was done in Star Trek, and the meaning of this gesture was live long and prosper. Now this devil sits on some sort of a pedestal, which is a cube-like form, and it has some chains attached to it. Also, this devil has a torch that is upside down. Now we see in this card a chained female character and a chained man character. Clearly the devil card looks like the lover's card, but this time the self-conscious and the subconscious are bound by illusions. They don't understand that what they see in the world is none other than the universal energy. Also, this devil has an inverted pentagram on his head, and this is the symbol that means matter over spirit. The devil, occult meaning. The devil card stands for pure ignorance, and we see so many examples of ignorance. One type of ignorance is not knowing how much power one has by using his imagination alone. I mean, how many movies are created that represents war, terror, and so forth, and then people watch these movies and then they get hypnotized, not realizing that they let in their subconscious minds these images, that the next day they play these images again on their mental screens. And because they play these images of war, of famine, and so forth day by day, they bring them to life. So make conscious choices on what movies you are watching, on what mental images you entertain on a daily basis. This card also shows that people believe only in what they see with their physical eyes and give no credibility at all to the imagination power or to the intuitive abilities. Now, in order to understand that this is all energy, I spoke, I think, too many times on my channel on how to actually see energy. The exercise is very easy. You just have to look forward and to focus on what you see on the sides, on what you see with your peripheral vision. Soon enough, if you look at the environment in this manner, you will see static energy in the air. However, this exercise becomes even more powerful when you look at nature, when you look at trees, for example, or if you are brave enough, if you do this exercise in a cemetery by focusing on your peripheral vision, you will be able to spot weird phenomena, so to speak. Anyway, there's no need to go deep, but if you try it out, you'll get what the hell I'm speaking about here, okay? The devil is a very good card to meditate upon whenever you are facing challenging situations. Maybe you are dealing with an ignorant person, maybe you are dealing with a problem in business. Remember, it's the same card as the Lovers. You have to learn how to see beyond appearances. And this card has that hand gesture, and it means that a hard situation may be a blessing in disguise. Okay? So yeah, view that problem of yours like a blessing in disguise, because that situation is there to teach you something. Now this card has the number 15 associated with it, okay? And we have the Hierophant and the Wheel of Fortune. So whenever you are in a trouble of some sort, I recommend you to meditate on the Devil card, okay? In order to see how to overcome those obstacles. If you draw this card in a reading, the Devil probably is the most feared tarot card. In a reading, it reveals to us that we are dealing with some kind of bound. It may be a legal bound or an addiction, or it may be even some self-limiting beliefs or actions that we are doing. This card is not at all suggesting to you to approach things in a delicate way. In the Temperance card, it was all about mixing things to get the desired outcome. Here in the Devil card, it suggests to break things apart, to be brutally honest with people, to say what you are feeling. The Tower, symbolism and numerology. The Tower is an interesting card that represents destructive forces, but here we are dealing with the destruction of ignorance or what chains us. We see a lightning bolt that hits the tower, and this is the path or trace from the tree of life, or it may mean the flash of inspiration or flash of perception beyond the ordinary. Also, we see 22 flames, and these are the 22 paths of the tree of life. It may also mean the 22 Hebrew letters. We see this big tower, which is a symbol of false built structures. We see a crown that comes from the tower as the lightning bolt hits the tower. The crown means power, and in our case may mean fall of power or fall of the ego. We also see a man and a woman falling from the tower. Again, these are the self-conscious and the subconscious. Pretty much the illusion in which these two characters believed is now destroyed by the flash coming from the superconscious or the sun in our case. When a flash of inspiration hits you, it may change your beliefs or habits. The Tower, Occult Meaning. The Tower is another difficult card, so to speak, but this is the card of awakening from ignorance. Previously, we had the Devil card that was about ignorance, and this card speaks about awakening from that ignorance. Pretty much the lightning bolt represents the sudden hit of inspiration that you get when you read something, for example, or those aha moments that make you understand and see things from a different perspective. Another thing that this card may indicate to us is that, for example, when you tap that subconscious mind, you see, in order to get a message across to your subconscious mind, you have to tap it daily until you get that mental image of your goal fulfilled to your subconscious mind. And why is important to know what you want? Because if you have a clear indication of what you desire and you tap daily that subconscious mind with that mental picture or an affirmation, you'll see that at one point your intuition speaks or you get a flash of inspiration, because now the higher self gets it. It understands that yes, you are sure about that desire and you want that desire to manifest. And if you tap that subconscious mind daily, because repetition is key. That's the way to reach the subconscious, with daily repetition. Then that a small inner voice speaks or hits you with a flash of inspiration, like we said. And if you act immediately on that message received from your higher self, you will see that structures fall, people move away, people give you what you want. And yeah, as you continue to apply this knowledge, you will see that you will gain more and more understanding on how to use these spiritual laws and how they work, also how the superconscious is helping you. Again, this lightning may also mean the rise of Kundalini power or even perceiving something paranormal, so to speak, that when you have such an experience, you will see that there is no going back. You will see the world differently. So the old is striped, just like the tower, and then you see the world from a higher perspective. If you are doing a reading and the tower comes up, maybe you are in a situation that doesn't feel quite right. Or maybe you are finding yourself in a quite dramatic moment in your life. The idea here is to make a radical change in your attitude towards that particular event, because a change in attitude results also in a reaction of the environment towards you. This may mean if you are dealing with injustice or difficult people, this card may urge you to disrupt that situation or that relationship, or just to communicate about the injustice that was made towards you. As the tower shows, you should consider to throw away the unwanted out of your life. The star, symbolism and numerology. In the card, the star, we see a woman that is naked. This is Isis. She represents the naked truth. Also, it means purity. The star and the stars around are symbol of quintessence. She has two vases or pots, I don't really know how these are called, but from one pot, water flows in the pool, making waves, and from the other pot, water falls upon the earth. The water has to do with the subconscious, the imagination, and the water that falls in the pool suggests us the activity that occurs on the subconscious level when we meditate. Also, the water that falls upon earth means the purification of the physical body or our physical senses when we meditate. One of her feet is on the ground and one is on water. Just like the Temperance card, this means connection with the physical and spiritual. Also, those 7-pointed stars give reference to the 7 chakras. In the background, we see the same mountain. In the background, we see the same mountains, symbol of obstacles that we need to pass over in order to grow. But this is also a symbol of the great work that the magician does. In the background, we see a tree, which is the symbol of the nervous system of the human body, and the trunk is the symbol of the spinal cord. In the tree, there is an ibis bird, which is the symbol of Mercury or Hermes. The star, occult meaning. The star stands for revelation that you receive after meditation. To give you a concrete example, by concentrating on a question for a while and then closing your eyes or closing your senses, suspending all that mental activity, at some point, I cannot tell you exactly how it happens, but from personal experience, I'm telling you that you will get the answer to your question as if you are remembering something. This is the star in action. You receive revelation or answers or the solution to your problems by meditating on it. This is the activity that is depicted in this card. Let me give you another example that you can prove for yourself right now. Let's say that you want to remember your dream from last night. The first step is to state mentally, like a mantra, that I want to remember my dream from last night. Then you can look intensely at the star card. Then you close your eyes and you focus on your breath and do not let any random thoughts to interfere. And you just allow yourself to be. And you will see that at one point, you will just download the information, or you will get flashes of images of that particular dream. And if you focus on a flash of or fragment of that dream, you'll see that more information will be downloaded into your brain, and you will be able to remember that entire dream that you had. The exact same principle I said to use on the High Priestess card. If you are dealing with memory problems, you can use the exact same method to remember things, right? To use the High Priestess card. But in our case, if you want to solve something, I don't know, maybe you are building a house, let's say, and you have a certain problem, you can meditate on the star card in the exact same manner, and you'll see that flashes or images will come to you. And if you hold that fragment of information for a bit, you'll see that more solutions will be downloaded into your brain, and you'll find the perfect solution for building that house of yours. This is the same thing that you can apply for anything. If you are trying to manifest a business and you don't know where to start, you can use this card, the star, to meditate upon it and to get inspiration on what to do. So this is an awesome card that you can meditate upon when you want to fish for information. If you draw this card in a reading, the star shows the relationship between physical matters and heavenly things. This card may suggest to you that you'll be blessed because you started to flow your energy into good words, good deeds, good visualizations, good actions. This may also mean that your actions are those of the star because you inspire people, you inspire others with what you do. It may also mean that you need to get inspired by watching successful people or reading about success. It may mean even fulfillment of your desires and wishes, or it may mean that your dreams may manifest soon. It may also mean that if you are involved in any kind of work, you have to look for creative ways to make your work shine even more. The moon. In the moon card, we see the moon, obviously, and its phases. And it has a quite serious face, as if it's facing problems. Well, those problems are those gray structures that we see on the sides, right? Because these gray structures may be false beliefs. We also see one dog and a wolf in the center of the picture. One is the tamed side, which is the dog, and the wolf is the wild side. These refer directly to the human body. Many people cannot sit for 1 hour straight to meditate. They become agitated, they want to walk around. Well, this is the wolf side, is the untamed body. So through meditation, you can tame that body. When the body is tamed or relaxed, that's when healing, organization, well-being comes into play. We also see a path in this card. This is the life path. Sometimes the path is clear, sometimes not so much, and it may become difficult. In the card, we also see a pool of water. And again, the pool of water may mean the subconscious, the collective unconscious. Water, like we said many times, it may mean imagination, right? In the pool of water, we see a crayfish, which may symbolize dreams, but this type of creature can regenerate itself. So this is a clear indication that the human body repairs itself during sleep, okay? And also can repair itself even faster if a mental image of, let's say, well-being and health is sustained in our imagination prior to sleep. In the background, we see 32 sparks of light, which represent the 22 Kabbalistic paths. The occult meaning of the moon is human body organization. Previously, we had the Devil card, which was speaking about putting limitations on ourselves, illusion. Then comes the Tower card, which means illumination, or getting a glimpse of outwardly perception or inspiration that makes you think differently. Then comes the Star, which means the revelation that you can get while meditating. And then comes the Moon, which means changes that occur in the human body as a result of these activities. Changes do occur, like I've said when we are talking about the Strength card. So when you meditate, the entire physical structure changes for the better. So these steps, little by little, trying to be aware all the time, to keep your imagination in check, makes you in time, not at once, but makes you in time more evolved in terms of human body. Let's say that a person is very passionate about football and all he is thinking about is football. He imagines himself a great football player. Well, that mental image that he holds determines him to take the necessary practice and actions to make it a reality. He practices more and more to make that mental images a reality. And because that mental images is a form of auto-suggestion that goes directly to the subconscious, the body of this person is organized accordingly to that mental image that is sustained. So that person may gravitate more and more towards actions that are closely related to that mental image. So this card, the Moon, may also help you build more body consciousness. So pay attention to your body when you are meditating. The main idea of the Moon card, through its complex symbolism, explains to us that in order to become spiritually and physically evolved, we have to exercise continuously our powers over and over again in all matters of our life. Only then we will understand the spiritual laws a lot better, and the actions that we need to take, again, are simple but hard at the same time. We have to use conscious speech, conscious exercise of action, conscious exercise of imagination. If you are doing a reading and the Moon is showing up, this may mean that you don't have clarity, that you don't have all the information required to take a business decision, for example, or any decision, because you don't have all the facts. Things are still unfolding. So the card may suggest to you to wait a bit, to see how things play out, to not rush into things, to not take a decision too fast, have a little patience, even sleep on it. This card urges you to pay attention to your intuitive messages that you feel inside your body, bodily awareness. Pay attention to the patterns that you are seeing, patterns of actions, patterns of how others respond to you. Analyze them. Also, this card may mean that you fear something. Analyze that fear. What is about? Is this real? Or it is something that you can have control over? The Sun. The Sun is the card of growth, the card of happiness. The sun is the great energy source that helps plants grow, makes the abundance of nature possible. So this card is full of beautiful sun symbolism that radiates brightly. And the sun is the symbol of life, is the symbol of cosmic power, of illumination all the way. In the card, we see a child that is naked, riding a white horse. This is the symbol of purity, of enthusiasm, of happiness, of fulfillment, of joy. We also see a red piece of cloth, which is a symbol of Mars force, symbol of desire, passion, action. We see behind the kid sunflowers, which are the symbol of evolution. These 4 sunflowers represent the 4 kingdoms, the human, animal, vegetable, and mineral kingdom. Behind the kid there is a wall made out of stone, symbol that the truth is solid. The spiritual law is solid and durable. The kid is naked because it represents the naked truth, that when you speak the truth, there is nothing to hide. The sun, occult meaning. The so-called occult meaning of this card is regeneration. And it makes sense because when the summer hits, everything regenerates, everything comes back to life. Also, it has biological influence on our body. Now, there is no secret that the sun card means illumination. Understanding of the spiritual law, understanding of truth, understanding and also clear perception leads to illumination. Clear perception can come to one person when he looks at the environment and sees how energy flows in it and in its creatures. I have told you already in this video and in others as well how to observe this energy. Some people will say, yeah, it's something on your eye. Just observe the environment for a while with your peripheral vision. Look at people with your peripheral vision. Try to observe the environment both at night and during the day, and you will understand. I think that it's really stupid how simple it is to observe this energy. However, people forget or dismiss it. The way to get your answers is by practicing. Practice, practice, practice. And if you have an outwardly experience, okay, great. Keep on practicing. Don't get stuck on that single one experience. You see, some people have this one magical experience and they talk and talk about it online. What does it mean? You see them on forums. In my opinion, this is such a waste of time. Keep on practicing and you will see that the answers will come, clarity will come to you, and you will have even more experiences in the future if you keep on practicing viewing this spiritual or energy that is all around us. And I have said many times, if you go in a park, just look ahead, right? And then focus on what you see on the sides. And at one point, you will see this buzz in the air, this static energy. Then, when you get accustomed to seeing that energy, just look at trees in the same manner, using your peripheral vision. And you will soon see the aura of the tree, okay? If you get accustomed to look at plants in this manner and you see their aura, then start to practice by looking at people. And you will see their egg shapes, how they move and such. And you will understand more and more about these outwardly, so to speak, perception. Now, this card, the sun, is fantastic to meditate upon it because it can help you build positive expectations when you are trying to manifest your desires by using your imagination. If you feel doubt, just use the sun card to eliminate doubt. right? Because this card, just by looking at it, it makes you feel positive, radiant, and it gives you a good feeling that always attracts its physical counterpart. If you draw the Sun card in a reading, this is a bright card. It's a symbol for happiness, good luck, and all good things. The Sun card may appear in a reading because it means generosity, enthusiasm, happy vibes, positive self-expression. The Sun may tell you to act with enthusiasm in whatever you decide to do, to engage in creative work. It may mean to take initiative. This card may suggest to you that you have to radiate good vibes on the outside in your relationships, in your business, or even when you are doing simple things around the house. It may suggest that you need to be more playful, to be like a child, to be silly, to have fun. The Judgment. The Judgment card is all about awakening. In the card we see again Archangel Michael blowing his trumpet, awakening people. He is blowing from a gold trumpet, metal associated with the sun. This means awakening to higher consciousness. Near the trumpet we see a banner that is a square, and we see a red cross. The white flag represents peace and the red cross represents neutrality, but also protection. We see that the action in this card happens in water, where there are floating some coffins. The coffin stands for the human body. When we see a wood box or something along those lines, it always may mean physical plane or human body. The water is the collective unconscious. Also, it may relate to the subconscious, or again with human imagination that affects the collective unconscious. We have in the front here a woman. Again, this is the subconscious. We have a man who is the self-conscious, and we have a kid, the birth of a new man, the awakened one. So in this card we see a lot of naked people in these coffins. I mean, it's hilarious. But this, in terms of symbolism, means truth, because the truth is naked. It means purity, innocence. The way in which these people in this card are raising their hands symbolize that they are accepting this higher intelligence knowledge. The Judgment, Occult Meaning. The Judgment card is the card that speaks about awakening to a higher consciousness, awakening the higher consciousness in ourselves. And this cannot happen if we walk around like a chicken all day, unaware of what we concentrate upon, unaware of what we imagine, unaware of our actions. This state of awareness, or reaching a higher consciousness that allows us to recognize that we are magical creatures and we have this deep connection with our higher self, can only be reached when we are aware, when we are meditating. In a nutshell, this card reveals that we are about to reach universal consciousness. This is the experience that gurus and enlightened beings are speaking about, that they become one with everything. But that comes in the World card. That blend of our consciousness with a universal one comes in the last tarot card. The Judgment is an intermediary step to get there, and this intermediary step speaks about being aware while we sleep. This Judgment card is so veiled in occult literature that means this and that. Well, it means actually to be conscious while your body is asleep, to have those lucid dreams. But first, in order to awaken while we sleep, as the card depicts, we must first recall our dreams. I already told you that you can use the High Priestess tarot card to access memory, or you can use the Star tarot card to get revelations. So we will not go over through that process again. But the first step in becoming lucid is to recall your dreams and to interpret them. So the usefulness of this card, the Judgment, consists in understanding what to do and how to awaken while you sleep. So use this card as a meditation tool to activate those lucid dreams. Now, what is fascinating is that the action of the card happens in the water. I mean, these people are awakening out of those coffins, which may mean the human body. And when you become lucid, at least the first lucid dream experiences that you will have, you'll see that the environment is exactly like that. It feels very watery. Anyway, another thing that you can use this card is, and to meditate upon it, is for good judgment, better judgment, to judge your decisions and actions. And if you are confused of something, you just can meditate on this card to awaken into clarity. If you are doing a reading and this card shows up, it tells you that it's time to change your attitude and view it from a higher perspective. Be the bigger person in the room. Imagine yourself being a wise person. And if you are this wise person, what advice would you give yourself in this situation? Because you already know deep down what to do. Start to be guided by your intuition, by love, by intelligence, and stop acting on what others want you to do. Start to think for yourself. Awake. This card certainly advises you that this is the time to do some changes, some modifications in your house maybe, or in your life, or maybe just in your behavior. Do some self-evaluation and make some changes that can give you and your life a rebirth, a new you, a new identity. You have to make adjustments and let the old go and let the new in your life. The world card is the card of universal consciousness. We see this woman dancing, and people dance when they are happy, when they are in a good mood. And the dance of this woman symbolizes accomplishment. She is in perfect balance, nothing is supporting her. And it feels like the whole world revolves around her. Well, that's actually how it feels when you get that energy moving from the base of the spine and travels up directly to the back of the head, then up to the crown. And yes, after that it feels as if everything is revolving around you. Anyway, the woman has two white wands in her hand that symbolizes spiritual wisdom. We see in the four corners of the card the same symbols as in the Wheel of Fortune card. The man, the bull, the lion, and the eagle, which are also related to the four fixed signs of the zodiac, the four elements, and so on. Around the woman there is an oval green red, which is the symbol of victory. But this element is made by human hands, and this means that the great work is accomplished by us, the people. Also, this oval shape represents birth and rebirth, cycles of nature. We will not go through all the symbols again because these were explained in previous cards. The world, occult meaning. The world card stands for universal or cosmic consciousness. Pretty much this is the stage where one person becomes truly enlightened, becomes a true seer at all times, being able to perceive out of the ordinary, making miracles possible and becoming and experiencing cosmic consciousness. I will not talk more about it because I'm not in that position. I definitely had some experiences, but I think there is more to do to get there. The World card, if it appears in a reading, may mean closure, or what do you need to do in order to feel complete or whole, or to get closure in regards to the situation that you seek advice for. Think about your situation. Do you feel in the right place at this time? How do you expand your area of expertise or your knowledge? How can you expand your life? The idea here is to think on a global level. How do you impact your environment? Are you taking care of your environment? How can you make your house, for example, to be more empowering? How can you improve and expand your relationship or your business to have a larger effect? The World card may advise you to think and to act based on how these actions of yours could have an impact on the environment or other people. So we reached the end of the video. This was a huge project for me to do, and it took me a long time to understand these cards, and I am very sure that I have very much more to learn about them. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.